I've been thinking a lot about what it takes to build a interesting life for myself recently. And there's a tremendous amount of value that comes from being disciplined and taking care of all the nuances of being a leader and starting companies and starting organizations and serving people. But I wanted to take some time to talk about serving oneself. There's there's enough love in this world that comes to us when we provide service for society, to where any given moment, if we consistently provide that to people, we'll be getting that love from the world, from random people smiling, from nature, from just really taking things in. And I've spent the last year of my life becoming very disciplined, not nearly to the degree that I know I have to become in a lot of ways, but certainly more than I ever have been. And what has taught me is you have to balance this thing, right? Sustainability of a human soul requires a lot of knowledge of self. And if we don't know how to provide ourselves that love, that comfort, that when we need it most, it's hard for us to offer that to the people that we love or the things that we really take seriously. In a lot of ways, I view organizations as organisms, almost as individuals. There's a nurturing process that comes along with wanting to make something that's cool, wanting to make something that's meaningful. And it's constantly a battle of giving that other thing attention for giving ourselves the attention. And I say to you, in a very honest moment here, spend the time to relax at times in life. I know there's always goals, there's always things to do daily, there's things that we need to get done that week, that month, that really will make the difference as to whether or not one of our plans turns out to be a reality. Now, we need to put in that effort consistently to actually get results. Consistency is a massive part of results. The issue becomes when we're losing parts for ourselves that we don't know if we're willing to sacrifice. In any growth pursuit in life, you'll have to go through some sort of sacrifice. And the best pursuits are ones where we know very well what that sacrifice is. Changing the pace, changing the way that we go about living our lives, in my opinion, is a very important way of figuring out who we are, whether or not we're actually doing the right things. It's paradoxical. We have to pursue that new thing in order to understand whether or not we like being there. But without that pursuit, there's no real comprehension of what difference is. So for instance, I love playing Magic, and so I have a background right here, Magic the Gathering. And I didn't know why I loved it, really, for a long time. And I had some really interesting conversations with close friends of mine and mentors about niching down the interesting parts, the really meaningful parts of the things that we do. And I realized that making these decks, of 100 cards, of having 60 of them be unique cards, and putting them together in a format that they all work together and synergize together based on a vision, basically one card. I'm talking about the game of Commander in Magic. I realized that that's really just how I look at things. That's how I've always enjoyed looking at life. When I was young, I used to make little army battalions of these soldiers, these little green soldiers I bought from the dollar store, and they would go on in war against each other, and there would be like custom formations, and they would be sitting on top of furniture and stuff like that, and one army would inevitably have to go into their terrain, and there would be this kind of turn-based strategy thing that I put together. Then I ended up watching a lot of replays for StarCraft and Supreme Commander, Forged Alliance, real-time strategy games. And I remember when my brother used to play single-player role-playing games like God of War or Prince of Persia or Musashi or any of those PS2 games, that I was always often the one that was watching, but also contributing in terms of strategy, in terms of how to get through a puzzle. And it's taken me about 28 years to really realize that it's something that I need to do all of the time if I can. But oftentimes, the greatest way to strategize is to take ourselves away from a situation for a little while and really allow space to occupy our objective and where we're at. Stated another way, having that contrast of doing something that's really meaningful to us and having dedicated time to sit down and strategize how we want to live our life, I believe the contrast is necessary for us to give us ourselves the meaningful approach to achieving that goal. That's maybe spending time in the woods or going for a walk, maybe reading a book, maybe spending time with family and friends in the middle of coming up with a larger strategy can give us insights from the world. And it's almost a spiritual belief in the ability for the universe to kind of dictate how we want to move forward, to see the signs and things, to not necessarily believe in coincidence. I'm advocating here for emotion. And I know in the stoicism and the pursuit of success and all of the nuances of becoming a more useful, valuable person in society, that emotion is often not given the forefront attention, even though it's something that really underlies and underpins true discipline in a lot of ways. Right? Like, what is it that we want to do? Who do we want to be? What do we want to feel like? Selling things to people, or frankly, buying things, it's oftentimes an emotional thing that we're looking at. We spend so little time as a society, and as I think as individuals, actually concentrating on what it is that individual wants, what it is that you and I want from our lives. And it's always going to be unique. And it's always going to be us. So I advocate really for, do those things that you love, like as much as you can, This life is short. It really is. And we can spend a lot of our time, even most of our time, with our nose to the grindstone. And it's good. But when we get to a certain point, we do need to just enjoy life. If we get that enjoyment out of doing the work, that's great. If we get that enjoyment out of creating things, that's great. If we get that joy out of both put together, which is most likely, we need to set aside time to do those things that give us that liberty. For someone that has been advocating so strongly for most of the things that I've frankly heard and quote on social media, but have also actually worked in my life, I want to give back power to the viewer. And I want to say, listen, like, you don't have to have it all figured out, You don't have to have it all perfectly planned. And you may fail. We may fail consistently at things that we really want to do. But it's that persistence, it's that emotional game that really keeps us going. It's our ability to tune back in with ourselves and say, dude, I still love you, like you're doing amazing things. And have some time to yourself. Have some time with a significant other, with your family, have some time to explore. And these, from all sources, are sacrifices that need to be made in order to get to certain monetary levels in life, in order to be the person that's worth that much. But it's also a narrative that has been created specifically from the free market business community, ones that are feverishly after affirmations through money. Now, don't get me wrong, I strongly advocate for making a lot of money, because then you actually have some sort of influence on your life and the world around you in a very concrete way. But I don't think that's all that life's about. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this message finds you well. I'm recording it during, in quotations, the Christmas break into the new year, as I think of all the times in my life that my institutions gave me breaks, to relax and do the things that I want to do. And How quickly those days went by because I didn't spend them disciplined. How quickly they went by without feeling like I accomplished something. It's an important thing to think about. Let's call it a thought log. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself.